Look at this shit. How'd you get this?
Hey, Mr. Carlin.
How'd you get this, man?
Blessings.
Huh?
Blessings.
Good. I didn't even know about this place, or up here or anything on the second floor.
It's very quiet, very peaceful here.
I know you're not gonna mind if I keep this.
No,
Can I keep the hat?
please.
Ben,
I'm really good.
I apologize again for the mix-up, but I just made an assumption
Well, see,
that wasn't based in any fact. You know?
Well, I thought it was odd that I would be 30 minutes before the show. So I
Yeah.
said, well, maybe I didn't get it right, but I'm glad that we could finally do this.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I've had a couple of days of, because I let all my packing get out of hand. I'm a kind of a very organized person.
Yeah.
And and I've had a very complicated trip. I've been away from home for 17 weeks. I've been to
Wow.
Philadelphia to do a movie on and off, up to New York and back, and then out to these different cities.
That's the new film with Ben Affleck.
Yeah. Ben and J-Lo.
Jersey Girl.
Jersey Girl.
Exactly right.
So my packing got a little unruly this week, and when that happens, I sometimes get a little disorganized in other areas. I kind of get a little lazy and say, oh, fuck. So I miss details, and that's what happened
Yeah.
here.
No, listen,
So
I'm honored.
we're doing good. No, I am too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget your account. Good evening and welcome to yet another special edition of the JaRon Eames Show. I'm very pleased to have as my guest tonight, in my opinion, the most brilliant satiric humorist in the business, Mr. George Carlin. How are you,
Thank
my
you.
friend?
That's real nice of you.
It's
Thank you,
true.
Jerome.
I just think that you're a
Well,
complete
thanks
genius.
very much.
I just want to touch on a few things, starting with the beginning.
Mhm.
I know that you were born here in New York. You're
Mhm.
native New York.
Uptown on 23rd.
And you're raised in Harlem, pretty much,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Correct?
We call our section White Harlem.
Okay.
Right where the black and the Cuban and white, our little Irish area came together.
Okay.
On 23rd and Amsterdam.
Well, now, is that how you developed this biting humor? I mean, how did that come from?
I think there's a lot of threads that go into something like that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's a genetic component. You have a gift for words and for language. The Irish have a little touch of that, you know, in their poets and their writers. And my father and mother,
Sure.
my father and mother were both very verbal and language. My mother was very language conscious. She would point things out to me. She'd say, "Look at this. Show me the newspaper. Look at this. Look at this. These words. How sharp they are. You know, that's a perfect word." So I fostered in me whatever I had as a natural gift. It fostered it more. So that's the verbal part. The other part, the way of looking at the world, is something I don't know how you develop that. I was always out of step. I was always swimming against the tide, and I dropped out of everything I wasn't kicked out of. And that includes 3 schools, summer camp,
Right, because you
the Boy Scouts, everything.
Exactly. 3 court martials?
3 Corps marshals, and they never did any time, which is pretty cool.
That's really...
And the Boy Scouts and summer camp and the choir and the altar boys and in the Air Force that we knew it wasn't working out. So I was always a sort of outlaw mentality and didn't believe in a lot of
You
things.
marched to your own drummer.
That's right.
So you didn't finish school, finish high school?
No, I quit in 9th grade, after 9th grade.
Isn't
I
that
quit
something?
after 9th grade, and I had these other skills and gifts that I knew. I knew when I was little, and I knew the direction I wanted to go. I even knew the steps I wanted to take. That radio would be a good first, safe step first, because it would separate me from the audience, and I could develop my personality on the air and my chops and get a little courage. You know.
I had always said that I had never let school interfere with my education.
That's cool. That's
No,
absolutely
it's true, because if you just live, you...
That's right. And it depends. Obviously, if you're going to do something very specialized, it's different.
And you zero in and target on that.
Yeah, right.
Now, your first radio gig was in my hometown, Louisiana, correct?
Shreveport, yeah.
I'm from Baton
yeah.
Rouge.
Well, I'm an honorary coon ass. That's what they told me. And I spent 3 years there. And first of all, growing up on the edge of Harlem, you live in a third zone. If you live deep in Harlem, you have a certain attitude. If you live deep in a all-white section, you have a certain attitude. But if you live where they come together every
mix,
day,
exactly.
there's a different feeling on
Right,
both sides.
exactly.
And I had that. And then in the Air Force, when I got in, and I sang rhythm and blues, I'm in the hallways with, I was a white kid, but it was way before the whites found out about rhythm and blues.
Well, see, that's because I know you love that kind of music.
Yeah,
What I
old
call real
harmony
music.
groups.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The doo-wop, the rhythm and blues,
Right.
50s, 60s.
Close harmony.
Yes, and jazz.
Yeah, and I don't even count doo-wop. First of all, I don't even like that term. I think the whites made up that term
I see.
after the fact.
Okay, all right.
It was close harmony groups. The birds, all the bird groups.
Right.
It's flamingos
Yes,
and the
exactly.
robins and everybody. The cardinals, sparrows,
Yeah.
swallows, orioles, and everybody. Swans.
Yeah, exactly.
There wasn't a bird they didn't
Uh-huh.
find. And so I was kind of steeped in black street lore and comfortable with what I felt was an ease.
A realness.
Blacks had an ease, yes. Where I didn't saw kind of a tightness and a restricted thing in the white, especially the white Irish
Well, see,
Catholics.
that comes across in your state, your whole persona.
Yeah.
It's just a natural quality.
Yeah,
It's solid. It's real.
There's a freedom.
Yeah.
And I picked that up around that neighborhood. And then when I got in the Air Force at 17, I was upstate first of all for basic training. Then I went to Louisiana. You're thrown in with guys you never met, and most all the white guys were kind of rural and small town guys who wouldn't want to go fix your Chevy. Got a Chevy,
Right.
got to go home and get my
Right.
Chevy.
Of course.
And the black dudes were all from places like south side of Chicago and Huff and Cleveland and Harlem. So I understood them and I gravitated toward them. And I became sort of a black-white guy and hung out with them. And I would go down and steal records from the BX and bring them back, Mulligan and Konitz and Kenton
Yeah.
and everybody, and the rhythm and blues stuff.
Right.
And I had a jam box. I had a 45 RPM player. And I had a lot of jams, and then we found a guy. I found a guy in basic training. We had no stripes, we're basic. I saw a guy with one stripe walking around, and they were pretty special. One stripe was like a DI. They were in charge of you. But he was from a different squadron. I saw there was a light-skinned black dude, and I said, I know that motherfucker somewhere. And then I realized I had scored from him around Harlem, around 126th Street. So I went over to him one day, even though he said, I'm taking a big risk. And I said,
Right.
So we wound up being able to smoke a little
Nice,
shit.
right. And he'll stand getting.
Yeah.
How lucky can you get?
Oh, man, and late at night, because we were an experimental squadron with a medical thing, and we didn't have to get up for reveille.
Yeah.
So it was just a goof. But the point I'm trying to make is that I sort of segregated myself, and then when I got to the South, which was still Jim
Of
Crow,
course.
it hadn't happened yet, the same thing. I spent a night in jail once for a black guy giving me a ride downtown because
Yeah.
I was in a car with a black.
Isn't that bizarre?
Yeah, it's weird.
totally
But I
bizarre.
had one joint rolled up in my sock, and they put us in this little jail in Bossier City, and they didn't search you or anything. And we're upstairs in this jail cell, and it had windows with bars on it, but they were open air, no
Right.
glass.
In those days, yeah.
So we smoked a joint in
Did they?
jail in Louisiana in 1955.
What a
it's-
great story.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that a lot of my attitude on the world comes from
From living.
living and being in touch with the idea of being outsiders, being an outsider. That's it. I'm always looking at things and thinking, well, I don't belong to that. And I understand that, but I don't belong to it. It's not my deal. I don't feel an allegiance to it. It's not my, so I don't owe it anything. So I think I'll kind of pick at it a little bit.
Well, see, I think what you do is you take the public's foibles and idiosyncrasies and you strip it bare
Yeah.
and you put a spotlight on it and you put a microphone on, a magnifying glass on it
Right.
and you just push it in our face.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful because it's true. Like your segment you just did recently I saw about the homeless and the golf course.
Yeah.
I mean, that
yeah.
kind of stuff is so powerful.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's so funny because it makes us think
Yeah.
that, humans should really do better.
Sure. Oh, see, that's one of my big complaints, is you're not doing as well as you should. You've organized yourself poorly. That's my big complaint. If we organize ourselves around commerce and religion, and I don't think that's a very good idea. I think you surrender a lot when you do that. I think you surrender a lot of your power as a human. Now, I don't bother people about their beliefs and their attachment to whatever the deal is, the big electron. My brother and I call it the big electron.
That's great.
And the wom, wom, wom. That's just it,
Right.
And but I do think that religion put a grip on people that bound them up and tied them up and restricted them in a lot of ways and represses them.
That's why we have this problem today, because
Yeah.
it's almost indelible.
Yeah.
It's so deep, it's so steep in our psyche.
Yeah, and that's the problem is it's about something real, and the something real is we all are connected somehow to the whole scheme. We're a part. Everything is a part of everything else. There's no difference.
Right.
The atoms in a Coca-Cola can are the same ones that you and I are made up of, and every atom in us has come from the middle of a star. It had to. And so everything's the same. It's the old Eastern, school, the Buddhist and Taoist stuff, where we are all one. It's
Yes,
all one
right.
thing. But I think that a perversion, that religion has perverted that and exploited it to their own ends.
Yes.
And people then...
And divided everyone.
Yeah, and then people get a little sick from it, I think. I mean,
And it's a mental illness that's really caused so many wars and
Yeah,
hate
I know,
around the country.
yeah,
And we're going into another war, not because of religion and hate.
yeah, that's all based on
Yeah.
religion.
Your first album, which I bought, and it came out, I think, in 1971.
Yeah,
FM
72 is when it came out.
Oh, 70, okay.
FM and AM.
It was
yeah.
live, correct, in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, Cellar Door.
And that won a Grammy.
Yeah, the FM and AM won the Grammy, right? That's right. That was the
Yeah,
first
I mean,
one.
Yeah. I mean, truly, I adore you. I've been following you for
thank
many,
you.
many years.
Thank
You're
you.
just a true, solid person. Was Lenny Bruce one of your
Yeah, he was.
heroes?
I knew him a little bit, and he was an obvious a person I looked up to in comedy. There were a number of figures in the 1950s. That's when comedy really changed from being a very safe, predictable form of harmless nightclub entertainment to people
questioning
using
authority.
it to question authority and to expose and to reveal themselves personally on a more elaborate scale. And Lenny Bruce, Mort Saul,
Yeah.
but then non-political people did the same sort of thing. Shelley Berman, Nichols and May had a little political overtone to them, but they were very, very social. Even if you take Bob Newhart and Jonathan Winters, it was just a difference
Yeah.
in comedy.
Right.
It became a tool of self-expression. And I was influenced by all those people. But Lenny Bruce, of course, was a powerful one because of the honesty on
Yeah.
stage that he
Grittiness.
projected,
Yeah.
and unafraid to examine the
And question.
Yeah, that's
And
exactly-
make you question yourself.
That's
Make you think inside of
make
you.
it, oh yeah, he's got something there,
Yeah. Just. First of all, let me say congratulations on 45 years in the business.
Thank you.
I mean, 45 years, and you're still on top of your game.
Yeah, I'm still
most
doing
people,
well, and I appreciate that.
Most
I'm
people, though,
proud.
after that time, was like living on their laurels.
Yeah.
You are still creating, still contributing, still pushing the envelope.
Well, I'm lucky that I had some combination of skills, or things that you get when you're born, that included being able to really become a writer. See, I started out, and I used to say, and it was accurate. I'd say, I'm a comedian who writes his own material. But at some point, what I really became was a writer who performs his own writing. And it sounds like just a subtle difference, and it is, but it's profound because I really found that what I did primarily was to write. And then I was lucky to have these extra other skills, which preceded the writing, to employ it and show it off. And
Personality.
then I can use my body up there, I can use
Right.
my voice, I can use my
Facial
mind.
expression as a whole.
Yeah, the whole
Yeah.
package. So I got all my tools in my little toolkit.
But do you consider yourself a comic? 'Cause, I mean, to me, like a lot of comics today, I just can't relate to. It's just
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
foolishness, a lot of cursing,
Right.
unnecessary. Just
Sure, yeah, it's
nothing.
unnecessary. Yes, just
but you tell stories about what you do. To me is real reality TV.
Well, I try to have. I engage in some silliness and nonsense too,
Yes.
and I think there's a good place for that. And that's the clown part.
It's a thread. You may go there, but you always have
Yeah.
something to
Yeah,
dig right
that's
in
the
you.
clown part.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll do raunch for its own sake, but the joke is always a solid, strong joke.
Yeah.
It's not weak, and it's
Right.
not an easy one
Right.
to think of.
Right.
And it takes them by surprise,
Right.
and it's got a little power in it. And then there are other things where I like the work is based more on ideas and observations and the critique of human choices and human behavior. And then that stuff is the stuff that kind of dominates now what I write and what I do. so you could call it social commentary or political critique or whatever, you know, those are a little grand. And the answer is yes, I consider myself a comic. I'm a comedian, I'm an entertainer first, but there's an artist at work in here.
Yeah.
That's what I found
Right.
out. Some entertainers are only entertainers. Some move over into artistry, and I found that because of the writing and the fact that I use my head and my creative side to just sort of, you know, really shape my thoughts so that they're deliverable. There's an art there. So I'm an entertainer, you know, but
I
an
think
artist
I
at
think
work.
the ones who tap into the artistry have longevity.
I think so. I think, and I think the things they do have a little more weight
Yeah,
to
yeah,
them
sure.
somehow.
You mentioned raunch. Can we talk about the Supreme Court case that happened,
Yeah.
the 50 filthy words or something?
Well, what happened was this. I had a routine on the second album that album was called Class Clown. That routine was called 7 Words You Can Never Say on TV. And it was a way of talking about censorship, but not in its strictest form. It's sort of an agreed upon censorship that everyone says, oh yeah, there'll be these words that we don't like. We're going to have these words that we don't say in mixed company or in certain situations. They're not nice. They're dirty. They're bad. They're vulgar. And there are all these descriptions that we have made up for these words. So I said, well, I think it would be kind of fun to isolate them and use television as the place as the filter, because they have rules. And so I said, well, there are only 7 I can think of that you can never say. See, never was the key word, because I pointed out you could say bitch, you could say it. They didn't say it then as casually as they do now.
Right.
But you could say it about a dog. That was my point. Bastard, you could talk historically about William the Conqueror and say, well, he was the bastard king. But now you can say, well, that bitch, you know, is she still married to that bastard? And you could never say that in the 50s, 60s, in the early 70s. So I was just kind of pointing out that we have these dividing lines. And then on this third album, I made a sequel to that, and it was just called Filthy Words.
Right.
And that had a few more that I added, fart, turd, and twat, and I explained why, because they had no other meanings, no other meanings. So that was played on the air. That second version was played on the radio.
WBAI,
WBAI
right.
Here in New York, listener-supported station,
Yes.
non-commercial. And one complaint
Was that
was
about
received.
76, I think?
It was played on the air in '73.
Oh, 73.
And one complaint, in this huge market of New York,
Yes,
one
one
complaint was
complaint.
made by a professional moralist, a member of the Morals in Media group, who was with his son in the car, and they heard it, and they didn't, apparently the son was not corrupted by it. But he went to the FCC. The FCC fined the station refused to pay the fine, and so the FCC took them to court. And at the district level, the 3-man district court in D.C., the FCC was overturned, and the station was supported. Then the FCC went to the Supreme Court, and in 1978, 5 years later, in a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court upheld the FCC's right to keep this kind of language off the air. And the word they used to describe this language was not obscene, it was indecent.
Indecent.
That was a new word in the legal. So they invented a whole new word to describe something I had, but it's the only court case ever based on a comedian's routine, the Supreme Court. So it's kind of a perverse pride I have in
Yeah,
being,
but I mean, it's historic. It's
having a
historic,
footnote
yeah,
in
right.
American
Right.
legal history.
Wow, this. You went. I know that when the first movie I saw you was, I think your first movie was Car Wash, correct, with Richard Pryor.
Well, that was after once I got really hot. I did one in 1966 with Doris Day and Brian Keith.
Oh, you
called
did?
With 6 You Get Egg Roll. Yeah.
Oh, you in that movie? I didn't know that.
I was the car hop. Herbie Fleck, when they would meet, they wanted to meet each other because they were married separately. They were not supposed to see each
I
other.
know the movie well, right?
They would meet at a drive-in, a coffee drive-in, and I was the car hop. Yes, sir.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. Herbie Fleck. No
Okay.
beard,
Right.
the old me. And so that was first. Then Car Wash was the second one. And Car Wash was one where I just sort of did a stock character of mine. I didn't really do acting. And I wasn't very adept at acting. I didn't have much ability to do the things you need to do to be an actor. I had no technique.
Because you're too George Carlin? Because
Well, I just kind of always thought acting would just come naturally to me because I could ad lib and I
Right.
could improvise with people. I could do characters and
Right.
stuff like this. In a minute, I can do a guy. I can make believe I'm talking to a guy over here.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was acting, and it's not.
Hmm.
I had no technique. I had no training to fall back on. So I was kind of
But you're
lost.
such a natural personality that it shouldn't have...
It doesn't work that way for
But
me.
see, for instance, I know that you've had perhaps more, but I think two TV shows, one on Fox and one on cable, I think. You had two television
No,
shows, sitcoms.
I had the Fox one. No, just the Fox sitcom, the George Carlin show. I tried to make a pilot for a sitcom for HBO once, which they didn't even air. We did, none of us liked it.
Because see, I'm trying to see why, for instance, your greatness doesn't come across to small screen. For instance, my other person's favorite is Don Rickles. He doesn't seem to come across on small TV. So I
yeah.
think your personality is maybe too big for television?
I don't. Well, that may be part of it, but one of the biggest problems is I can't be myself because of the commercial restrictions.
Right, exactly. Okay.
I mean, it's that simple. Everybody's looking over everybody else's shoulder there, and even if you're not talking about language, 7 words, or subject matter even, they just question everything, and it becomes comedy by committee. It's deadly. It works fine for ensemble shows. I think certain people can manage it just right if they get just the right creative partner. Jerry Seinfeld found Larry David, and that was perfect, and they utilized his particular his persona perfectly, the kind of stuff he does. They were able to incorporate that. My thing wasn't as applicable, and I didn't care that much.
Yeah.
I knew I had something else going for me,
Right.
and I didn't have a big stake in really making it work. And there were various other things. They didn't support the show very well. They backed the other guy. He was kind of a maniac. This showrunner and guy that I had, the creative partner, he was in a hard time of his life, and as brilliant as he is and was. That wasn't working, and I wasn't part of the club. It's a real club.
Yeah, right.
And I didn't give a shit.
I
I
know,
just didn't care, and so that doesn't work, that way. I just did it because I was in my mid-50s, and I thought, well, they've been coming at me all my life with these kind of shows and ideas, and I've turned them down, and I waited so long that the offer got real good. So I thought, well, maybe if I owe
Give it a
Brenda
shot.
and me a chance to hit a home run here, I'll just take a shot. And I was right. I didn't fit. I didn't feel I fit, and I was right. And I was glad when they called up and canceled it. I was really glad. I said, "Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
No, thanks for not waiting another
Wait
6 months."
off your back.
Yeah, absolutely.
You hosted the first Saturday Night Live, correct?
Yeah.
1970, what, 77?
75.
75.
Yeah, and that didn't. Yeah, that's just a historic. That's just a trivia question.
I see.
It doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
It's just a nice thing to throw in there.
Uh-huh.
But they don't even call me up when they're having their 15th anniversary
I
or their
see.
20th anniversary or their
Okay.
20th. I've sort of been like they did in Russia. I'm like a non-person in their
Okay.
history. So it doesn't mean a lot to me, And
Well, I know one thing that you should be very proud of is 12 HBO specials.
yeah, I'm proud that I could write and deliver in 25 years 12 specials. And they got better and better and better. They didn't get worse and worse. And worse. That's what I'm proudest of, and the longevity at a good high level, and the fact that I can still fill up theaters. I mean, here we came to Westbury, Long Island, and 2 weeks before, a little more than 2 weeks before, there were 3 sold-out shows.
Well,
That's about 9,000 people.
I know
so,
that. When you were here last year, I went to see you at the Beacon and couldn't get in.
yeah, well, that's a special event, that HBO thing, and you can say, well, that because it's on TV and stuff, it's going
But
to track.
after 45 years, still packing the house.
Yeah, it's nice. And I'm on a 10-day tour starting tomorrow, and they're all sold out in advance. So
I know you have to go to your show tonight.
Yeah, and I gotta get
stage
a
your
little more
voice. I
packing.
know.
I'm getting nuts
just
on my packing.
A few more things. 2 books that should definitely be in everyone's collection.
Brain Droppings,
and
Napalm and
the
Silly
name
Putty.
Napalm and Silly Putty. Where do you get these?
Well, that name is because it's first of all, in a sly way, it's supposed to indicate the 2 sides of my nature. The napalm is the killer, the
Volatile,
hard-hitting dude.
Right.
And the silly putty is the silly man, the funny comic, the goofy guy. Hey, what are you doing?
Right.
So
Great
that's
title.
what's one thing. But
And
secondarily,
they were both on New York Times bestseller for 20 weeks.
They both each spent about 20 weeks on the New York Times list. And one of them got number 1. The second book went to number 1. The
Wonderful.
first book got up to number 3 and hung around there for a while. But the Napalm and Silly Putty was meant to describe the dual nature of man and how this species is capable you know, building a huge suspension bridge, finding a cure for some disease and all these wonderful things. We can make napalm, though, and we can make silly putty. You know, we can make a deadly thing that kills people. We can make another thing where you can see a picture of Popeye that's backwards and it's goofy. So we have this ability, and we can't seem to get in the middle and get it all right all the time, you know. Not that you would expect so. There's too many people.
Well, my friend, all I can say is, you know, let me ask you about your mother, because my mother is my best friend. I know your mother lived to be 89, which is a wonderful, good age. But you been close to your mother?
Well, we had a love-hate relationship during my adolescence because my father was out of the picture. She had to leave him. And she raised two boys in the Second World War on a woman's job, man's salary, though. She worked in advertising. And she saved me from my father. He had been he had beaten my brother, who was 5 years older than I am, for 5 years, giving him spankings and shit, and kind of brutal. And he was a drinker. And she, when I was 2 months old, she took me in her arms, 2-month baby, and a 5-year-old in her other hand, went on 112th Street in Amsterdam, went out the window, down the fire escape, through the backyards, into a car where my Uncle Tom drove us to the country to get away from my father. And then we stayed away from her. So she's a hero.
Great story.
She's a hero. But what she had for me was that, she was very controlling, though, and grandiose, and she had to be the center of attention, and she was a big pain in the ass in a lot of ways.
Well,
in retrospect, I have more respect for her than I did when she was, you know, making what I thought was, you know, kind of being, I don't know, difficult.
Well, were you get one to be the center of attention, one to be on stage from her? Is that
hers was more of a narcissism. It was kind of unrealistic, you know. I wanted to be the center of attention when I was doing my cute little things, but I didn't need to. I didn't have to be the center of attention. I'd like to turn it on, turn it off. But she'd sit there, you know, and it was always this, and oh, they talk and they love me. They love me down up at Cape Cod, you know, and she had a grandiose kind of a,
delusion?
And aristocratic pretensions, you know. But I mean, she was bright and funny and taught me so much, and she had a great laugh.
She obviously did very well. Very well.
Yeah, she was great, and I got no complaints. I'm always just honest about who she was, and I have a second Broadway show I'm going to do. I'm going to do one about a language in '05. That's my next thing, because I'm not going to do another HBO similar to the kind I've done. I'm going to do a one-person show on Broadway called Watch My Language.
Oh, can't wait for that.
And it's all clean. That's the hook that's going to surprise a lot of people.
Nice.
And it's all about American lingo and how we speak and what we say and all that. And then there's a second show called New York Boy, about growing up in the city during the 40s and 50s with my mother and the relationship and being stage struck.
Now, I know that you had a wonderful long marriage of 36 years. After your wife passed, you were fortunate enough to have met another lovely
I met a lovely woman named Sally Wade. Sally and I are, you know, just so deliriously happy and together. It's just great. In fact, I'm going upstairs to see her now.
That's wonderful. I just want to thank you so much for your time. I'm so honored to give you this time.
Well,
you are a great man.
Thank you.
You know, it's a saying that it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice.
Well,
and you are truly a nice man.
I appreciate that, and I feel the same thing from you.
Thank you, sir.
And I thank you for being such a you know, such a fan, I guess is the best word to use.
A deep fan.
And this is good. This is fun. I'm glad to do this.
It's my pleasure.
Good.
And I'll be at the show, so have a great show tonight. Okay?
Excellent. I'll be doing the best I can.
Yeah, I'm sure you will, as
All
always.
Right. Strutting around. Yeah.
Thank you, my friend.
Good deal.
Good night.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Carlin.
Sure.
I really
So
appreciate
you're going out there tonight?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
yeah. I'm going tonight.
Yeah, it's, we had good, strong shows. They've been good, strong audiences.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They've been,
I mean,
they
everybody.
got better out there. They used to be very conservative audience 10, 15 years ago. But somehow I hit a different groove, and I started attracting different people out there. And it's better now. They're more open.
Yeah. Well, listen, I have the highest respect for you.
Thank you.
The
Thank
highest
you.
respect.
I'll see you sort of
Yeah,
out there.
exactly.
Are you going to see it too?
I might and I might not.
Okay. Are you Irish?
No, I'm from Austria originally.
Yeah, Austria, yeah.
People always
I
ask
think
me
it was
I'm
Irish, but
Irish.
there's a little touch of your speech that I was just wondering to ask you.
Yeah.
You
No, a lot
know,
of people
you know,
always
so
ask-
I'm a major fan of yours.
Oh, good, yeah, you can stand that comment, thank you.
We watch the HBO specials all the time,
Good.
over and over again.
Good.
Everybody I know. And that's the thing. I want to do a real special to you with this interview. you show a few lines from this and then show some of your routine.
Yeah.
And mix it together.
Okay.
Because I know it.
I'm open to that. We'll stay in touch over time, okay?
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed my CD.
I'm sure I will, man. I
And
got
give me the opening act, please.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Carlin.
It's wonderful meeting you.
Be cool. Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Nice to
much.
see you guys.
Thanks.